Welcome to Excel Basics Series video number 23. Hey, if you want to download this workbook and follow along, click on my YouTube channel, then click on my college website link and you can download the workbook Excel Basics. Hey, there's a sheet tab here called if. There's one called if function, but we're going to use the one called if, and we're going to talk about the if function. Now, here's the best way to learn about the if, our bonus, right? So you had sales, your sales are $65,000, and the boss says if you make more than $50,000, we're going to give you a $500 bonus. So the bonus hurdle is $50,000. Right? So you, as you're accumulating your sales over the period, as soon as you jump over this hurdle, you get the $500. So we can get, you can get one of two things, either 500 or 0. Now in this particular case, we are going to get the 500 because we're over it. But we have something called the if function for exactly this situation. You don't want to have to calculate by hand a bunch of employees. So you can have the if function evaluate this hurdle and the person's sales and determine whether a 0 goes in this cell right here or 500. So as soon as you get a situation where you get one of two things, the if function is great. Now, before we do the if function, let's talk about a logical function. Logical function is like this. It'll tell you true or false, did you get the bonus? We're going to type an equal sign because it's a formula, and we're going to click on your sales, and we're going to use the greater than, and then secondarily, the next symbol, equal. Now, we could just do greater than, right? And so the question you're asking this formula, are your sales greater than? But if you have a nice boss, usually they put the equal sign there, right? Because if you would get really mad if you got exactly 50,000 and they didn't give you the bonus. So greater than or equal to, and there's no single symbol for greater than or equal to, so you have to type two things in. All right, hit enter. Hey, that's a true false formula. Watch this. If we type 49,000 here, what does it say? False. Now I'm going to click in the cell and hit F2. There it is. This little part right here is called a logical test. It can only do one of two things, say true or false. All right, let's keep that in mind as we determine using a true false in the if function whether you get a bonus. All right, here's how we start it with an equal sign. The name of this function is if, open parentheses. Now the screen tip here is very handy. It says it needs a logical test. Well, we've already learned about a logical test, so we'll put a logical test there. The next two parts of the if function are quite easy. It's just what do you want to put in the cell if it's true, meaning this comes out to be true, and then what do you want to put in the cell if this comes out to be false. We already saw how that worked there. All right, let's try it. Let's do our logical test. Click on 65,000, your sales, greater than or equal to the hurdle, right? So the question is, are your sales greater than or equal to the hurdle? Now, the screen tip's pretty polite. There's a comma there. So before you can put in the next argument, you have to type a comma. Watch what happens to the screen tip when I hit comma. Notice how this next argument becomes bold. So value if true, well, it's the 500. Now, to get to the next value we need, the next argument, we have to type a comma, and I'm just going to put a 0 in. Close parentheses. That's it. If you can talk your way through how a bonus works in English, you can figure out how to do the if function. I'm going to hit enter, and let's test it. And we have to test three things. Let's test below. So you had 40,000. Right? So it puts 0 in the cell. Now let's do exactly right on because we have to test that. True, ding, 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 you get your 500. And then of course you had 65,000 because you're such an excellent salesperson. So if we put 65,000 something way above, sure enough, it comes out $500. So that's using the VLOOKUP to put one of two numbers into the cell. Now let's scroll over here. We have another example here. And what we want here, if I can get my screen to work, is we want to check whether this is in balance or not. In accounting, you have a column of numbers called debits and a column of numbers called credits. And they have to have the same balance at the bottom. So a lot of people that do budgets or accounting do formulas like this. They want to check whether two numbers are equal, not whether it's greater than or less than, just if they're equal. Hey, let's do a true-false formula right here. Equals is this equal to this. Now that looks funny if you've never done a true-false equal formula, but that's kind of cool. Hit enter. True. If we type 1 here, it says false. Now let's do our if, because what we really want is we want some word like yes or no or in balance, not in balance. So we're going to do a if formula to put one of two text strings or words into a cell. So let's start it. Equals if. I'm going to have to scroll up just a little bit. Why don't we just make the... So we'll do our if in this cell. Equals if, open parentheses. We need our logical test. That'll be this equal to this. It doesn't matter which order because it's an equal sign. Now the logical test is that, comma, that allows us to put what we want in the cell if it's true. Now remember, we're doing words, and words and formulas have to be in quotes. So I'm going to put double quote, that's right to the left of the enter sign, double quote, in balance. Now be sure and spell things right, because if you put this formula in the cell, spell check won't check it. Spell check will work while you're in edit mode like this. All right, that's what we want to put in the cell if it's true, the two words in balance. I'm going to put a comma and then put double quote, not in balance. I got to watch out because I'm a bad typer and a bad speller. Close parentheses, and that'll work. In balance, true. Now let's try this. I'm going to type 70 tab. Now it's false, but I'm going to type another 70. All right, so I'm OK. I can go on to the next transaction because this tells me. Now I'm going to type 39, and then I'm going to type 39. Hey, what? Wait a second. It says false. What's going on here? I see 261, 261. I see a 39 and a 39. This is why accountants and people that do budgets have these formulas, because sometimes you could get tricked by by formatting. I'm going to highlight all of these, and I'm going to increase the decimals. Control 1, go to number. Control 1 is the keyboard shortcut for format cells. Number, and I'm going to click on currency, and I'm going to increase the decimals. 1, 2. Now before I click OK, I want you to notice this says 261 and this says 261. So the formatting looks like it's in balance, right? But one thing we've learned in this series is that formulas don't look at formatting. They always look at the underlying numbers. So I'm suspecting that we have some problem here, and this formula caught it for us, because formulas don't get tricked by formatting, just us when we're looking at it. I'm going to click OK. Oh, and there it is. I accidentally typed in an extra penny right there, and the formatting just made it look like they were in balance. But guess what? Our if formula here, in fact, caught it. So now, because our if function formula caught it, we can come back and quickly see, type 39 and then enter, and we're good to go. We're in balance. Now those are just two examples of the if. The if is a very powerful function, one of the more common functions. I just want to point out that if you want to watch a great video, Magic Trick 167 has 12 examples of how to use the if, and it starts off simple and gets much more complex.